Okay, the question that's been asked by one of my viewers is this one. What is the equation of the chord of the parabola y squared equals 8x, which is bisected at the point 2 minus 3? So I've drawn the parabola y squared equals 8x, and I've drawn a chord which has a midpoint of 2 minus 3. This is not to scale, okay? You just have to give yourself an illustration of what's going on before you start doing any working out at all. All right, so this is the midpoint of that chord, and we don't know what the endpoints of that chord are. If we did know another point on that chord, we would readily be able to find the equation of that chord. So we're going to be aiming to find one of these endpoints, okay, A or B of that chord. All right, so we're going to start off by letting A, this point here, this endpoint of the chord, let that equal x1, y1. And this point B, let that be x2, y2. All right, so those 2 points, the midpoint of AB is 2 minus 3. So if you use your midpoint formula, you can say x1 plus x2 over 2 is equal to 2, and y1 plus y2 all over 2 is equal to minus 3. So let's write that down. x1 plus x2 over 2 is equal to 2, and y1 plus y2 all over 2 equals minus 3. This one simplifies to x1 plus x2 equals 4. We're going to call that equation 1. And this one simplifies to y1 plus y2 equals minus 6. Call that equation 2. All right. Now, like I said, we're only going to be finding one endpoint. You don't need to find both. So let's say we're going to try to find A, these points here, x1 and y1, right? Now, that on the parabola, if you substitute x1 and y1 into the equation of the parabola, okay, you're going to get y1 squared equals 8x1, okay? So you have 3 equations that will help you get somewhere, all right, somewhere along the way. Now, what we can do is, at this point, we're going to sub this equation into number 1, right? But we have to let x1 be the subject, all right? So if you let x1 be the subject, you're going to have x1 equals y1 squared on 8. And if you sub that into equation 1, you're going to get y1 squared on 8 plus, and of course this one will be y2 squared on 8 equals 4. Okay, so similarly, you're going to do a similar thing with that one. So let's write that down. y1 squared on 8 plus y2 squared on 8 equals 4. All right. This will then simplify to y1 squared plus y2 squared equals 32. Multiply everything by 8, and that's what you get. Okay? All right. So we have a nice equation here. We can call that number 3 if you like. All right. And what we're going to do is we're going to make y2 the subject in this equation and sub it into here. So we just get y1 everywhere. All right. So number 2, we're going to make y2 the subject. So y2 equals minus 6 minus y1. And we're going to sub this into equation 3. This one here. Right, so we're going to get y1 squared plus y2 squared, which happens to be that squared. Just write it down for now, then we'll expand on the next line. equals 32. All right? Okay, so let's keep going. So we've got y1 squared plus, expand this, minus 6 squared, minus 6 times minus y, plus 6y, double that, plus 12y, 1 of course, and then plus y1 squared equals 32, and you end up getting 2y1 squared plus 12y1 plus 4 equals 0 when you simplify all that. Common factor of 2 throughout, so you divide throughout by 2, so you're going to get y1 squared plus 6y1 plus 2 equals 0. All right? That's not going to be able to solve. You're not going to be able to solve that with the factor method, of course, because you can't find 2 factors of 2 which are add to give you 6. So you're going to have to use a quadratic formula, or you can complete the square if you like. Quadratic formula, most people like that. So y1 equals, take the b, which is 6 minus 6 plus or minus square root of 6 squared, 36, minus 4ac, 4 times 2 is 8, times 1 is 8, all over 2 times 1 is 2. So minus 6 plus or minus the square root of 28 all over 2. And that simplifies to minus 6 plus or minus 28 is 4 times 7, so that makes it 2 root 7 when you simplify that third, all over 2. Common factor of 2 throughout, you can divide, so you're going to get minus 3 plus or minus root 7 all over 1, so you just leave it as it is. All right, so now you have y1 equals 2 solutions. Now, the reason why there are 2 solutions is because there are 2 endpoints. Okay, so we're just going to take the lower value because we're just going to find y1. Okay, we remember what I said. We only need to find one pair of coordinates here. Okay, use it with this one and we're going to be able to find the equation of the chord. All right, we don't need to know what x2 and y2 are. All right, so we're just going to write down y1 is that. Okay, that's equal to y1. So we have our y1 value. Let's now find our x1 value by substituting this into here. All right, there's x1 equals y1 squared over 8. So we need to put that into there. So I'm going to do that on the next page. All right, so let me write that here again, sub. This is my y1 equals, and we're going to take the lower value of the 2, so it's minus 3 minus root 7, okay, into the x1 equals y1 squared on 8. If you substitute in the plus, the minus 3 plus root 7, you're going to get the other value. We're only after 1. Okay, so we get x1 equals minus 3 minus root 7 all squared on 8. Okay, so let's expand the top. Minus 3 squared, 9. Minus 3 times minus root 7 is plus 3 root 7, double that, plus 6 root 7, and then minus root 7 times minus root 7 is plus 7, all over 8. So we end up getting 16 plus 6 root 7 on 8. Common factor of 2, so you get 8 plus 3 root 7 all over 4. All right, and there's our x1 value. All right, so the point A, therefore, A happens to be equal to x1, which is 8 plus 3 root 7 on 4, and y1 equals minus 3 minus root 7. And because we have A and we have the midpoint, let's write the midpoint down again, which was 2 minus 3 given to us. All right, we can now use these two pairs of coordinates to find the equation of that chord, of that straight line chord, okay? So we need to find our gradient. So we're going to find the gradient of the line AM, okay? So this is how I like to write it. All right, and the gradient is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Right, you can even go this way, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All right, so we'll go this way, minus 3 minus root 7 minus 3 over 8 plus 3 root 7 on 4 minus 2. Okay, this now becomes minus 3 plus 3, 0, so you've got minus root 7 all over. Here you've got 8 plus 3 root 7 minus 8 all over 4. And you end up getting minus 4 root 7 when you simplify this over 3 root 7. So it ends up being a nice answer. These cancel out and you end up getting the gradient of that chord AM is minus 4 on 3. All right, and now you can find the equation of the line. So you just use your midpoint and your gradient to find the equation of the line. So we're going to go y minus y1, which is y plus 3, equals gradient minus 4/3, x minus 2, multiply both sides by 3, 3y plus 9 equals, expand, minus 4x plus 8, put in general form if you like, 4x plus 3y plus 1 equals 0, equation of the chord. End of solution.